Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel, YouTube channel that is. My name is John. I am Orphan Car Garage. I'm located in Massachusetts in the little town of Abington. We're about 30 minutes or so south of Boston. The car in front of us here today is certainly an Orphan. It's a Pontiac. It happens to be one of my most favorite Pontiacs ever. It's a Fiero from the best year ever, 1988. Pontiac, of course, introduced the Fiero in 1984, and it certainly wasn't what the car in front of us here is when it was introduced. By that, I mean that the original designers for this car had the idea in mind for this to be a real two-seat sports car. The penny pinchers at GM got involved, management got involved at GM and decided it wasn't such a good idea to produce a car that might potentially give the Corvette a run for its money. They wanted to keep the Corvette and not give it any competition under that General Motors umbrella. So it sort of evolved into a four-cylinder commuter car that happened to be a two-seater. Certainly not unpopular. GM sold a lot of those little Iron Duke cars in the first year of production. In fact, more than they had planned. But the car really didn't start showing its teeth until the 1985 revision, when they did a mild restyle on the car and introduced the GT model with the 2.8 V6 mounted behind the seats. That's when the car really started to get the attention of the automotive writers, got a lot of good press and a lot of happy owners. The four-cylinder was still available, I believe, right up until the end, but the V6 cars are the ones that get most of the acclaim today, and for good reason. So up until 1988, from 84 through 1987, the car had used a lot of the parts off the GM parts bins. Chevy Citation, Chevy Chevette, things like that. Again, that was a cost-cutting measure, I think, from GM early on to keep the car as an affordable commuter car. But 1988 really came into its own. General Motors completely gave Pontiac the go-ahead to completely restyle the suspension, the braking, and the steering. So this car in 1988 was almost completely revamped from its 1987 predecessor. The 1988s are widely known to be the best Fiero to own, and I completely agree. Although, admittedly, I love them all. Even the little Iron Duke cars are fun cars to drive. But if you're looking for a Fiero, if you're looking for the best Fiero available, it's going to be from the year 1988. And most people would agree with me. Now, in 1988, happened to be its final year of production, because in true GM fashion, they got it right and they killed it, which still blows my mind today. Pontiacs would fall into that category too. I'm still sad Pontiac's gone. But back to the Fiero. In 1988, you could get an SE model Fiero with the Iron Duke four-cylinder in it. You could get the GT, which again was released in 1985. It was still available in 1988. But they also newly added this Formula package to the mix for 1988. So the Formula was only available in 1988, and the Formula was a really cool little package. Still had that notchback look that the GT did not have, but the SE did have. But it had some GT attributes, such as this really cool spoiler on the back. It has the WS6 suspension with the staggered wheels. We've got 15x6, I believe, rims on the front, 15x7 on the rear. It's got a 120 mile an hour speedometer. Those are things that were borrowed from the GT that were also used on the Formula. So the Formula is really a cool little package. This is the second Formula we've had through the doors here at OCG, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a nice mix of the SE, because I do prefer the notchback style of these cars. It harkens back to the original. But I also love the performance upgrades of the Formula. Plus, you've got all the redesigned suspension and braking and steering with the 1988 model. So it's a perfect package. This particular car has been repainted. Extremely well done. This black is the original color of the car. We've got original decals. We've got some really cool original dealer style mud flaps. We've got these black lace wheels, all correct for the Formula, in outstanding condition. The paint job on this car is, I hate to say it's a 10, but it's damn close to a 10. It was originally a black car. As you know, GM paint quality in the 1980s wasn't the greatest. What would happen most likely, and probably happened on this car, is the clear coat started to delaminate, and the gentleman liked the car enough to have the whole car repainted. That's just the tip of the iceberg on what's been done to this car. With just over 100,000 miles on it, you would never know. It looks like a brand new 1988 Fiero. I can't even really find a scratch to anywhere on it. Look at the front fascia, the hood on the car, everything. The headlight doors do what they're supposed to do. I'll get you inside and show you another aspect of this car that makes it quite desirable, and that's the transmission. This car has the 5-speed manual transmission. A lot of these cars have a 3-speed automatic. A lot of them do. This one's got the very desirable 5-speed manual transmission. And if any of you know Fieros well, you'll know that the clutches in these cars are a bear to replace. This car has a very recent clutch replacement, as well as the shift cables. So there'll be no worry with this car as far as clutching or shifting. Everything's been replaced in this car within a very short period of time. We've got an aftermarket stereo with a subwoofer behind that seat that I will show you, or I'll try to remember to show you. And the car is equipped with factory air conditioning, and yes, it does work. Many times in these Fieros, the AC doesn't work. There are AC lines that run under the vehicle, and they commonly corrode. Ask me how I know. This car has working air conditioning. Just over 100,000 miles, 100,892 to be exact. But again, you would never know it. This car has basically been restored cosmetically. Beautiful carpeting here, original carpet. This carpet was removed, and the gentleman, the most recent owner, added Dynamat under there for some soundproofing, and he claims it was the best thing he ever did. He shampooed the original carpet and reinstalled it. Really cool aftermarket Fiero floor mats here. The car does have tilt steering wheel as well, and a pop-up sunroof, which just about all the Fieros had, I believe. Most of them did. A short few even had T-tops. The guy had this tinted limousine style tint. So really, really nicely done. When it's closed, you almost don't know the car has a sunroof. Just absolutely outstanding in almost every aspect. The emergency brake in the car also works. Another common thing on Fieros not to work is the emergency brake, because of the rather complicated rear caliper setup on these cars and how the emergency brake is tied into the calipers, especially if the emergency brake isn't used very often. It's all been reworked on this car. You'll have no problems with the emergency brake on this car. Something everybody should know that's shopping for a Fiero. Grabbing here real quick, because I can never remember a list this long. Here's the list that the most recent owner put together of everything that he did to the car. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll read some of the more notable things. This list dates go back to 2012 up to 2024. Rear calipers, hoses, pads, rotors, coolant hoses, all LED lighting inside the car. You probably noticed that already. The lighting in the car has been all converted to LED, which is really cool. Replacement muffler, radiator hoses, clutch fluid flush, clutch master cylinder and slave replaced, cap rotor wires, Dynamat interior, shampoo carpet, inner and outer tie rod ends, IAC motor, replaced transmission, I'm assuming with a used one, at 90,000 miles. Replaced the fuel pump, crossover coolant tubes, new headliner. The headliner in these cars is almost always sagging. It's been replaced. Rear wheel bearings, front end alignment, and general Ultimax tires. AC service, oil and filter change recently, and again, that clutch has been replaced. Really cool, great to know. The car has a real great amount of pedigree with it to prove its history and what's been done to it as far as maintenance, something that's important on these cars. I'm gonna get back here and show you the amp back here behind the seat for the aftermarket radio. We do not have the original radio. It failed to work several years ago and it was replaced. Cool placard here for showing the car, because the car has been shown throughout New England at many car shows, Pontiac specific and otherwise. I believe it's got an award or two over the years. I do want to point out the stain here on the seat. This here some sort of a burn there. I'm not going to say it's a cigarette burn because the car doesn't appear to have ever been smoked in, but something there. And then there's a stain. It almost feels like a glue that got on there. I tried to get it off, but it wasn't too successful. So I wanted to show you that on the passenger seat. Really nice door panels. I'm going to start it up for you. We're going to pop the engine. Check out the gallery of photos. Look at that paint gleam in this dusk light that we have here. Perfect time of night to do this video. Just can't get over the condition of the front end of this car. Let's fire up that 2.8 V6 for you. I'll show you another cool feature that the gentleman added. I'll make sure we're out of first gear here. Gauges work. There's no crazy lights. Now, this is something here that was not available in 1988. I think it was available on earlier Fieros, but the gentleman added it to this 1988, and that's a rear hatch release. It should be open now, which is kind of cool. You don't usually see that in 88s unless it's been added. Gonna make a liar out of me. Okay, so it's not working. It worked for me the other day, I promise. I think it just went. I can feel it, I can hear it clicking, but it's not opening, so we're gonna pretend I never said that. The car's not equipped with a remote release for the trunk. It's just a figment of our imagination. I'll play with that some more because it worked for me every other time, but of course I'm live on the air and it's not gonna work, right? Here's that 2.8 V6. I'm not going to let it run while I'm talking back here because you won't hear me much, but really clean engine bay, a lot of replacement parts. Speaking of that, we've got a little tub here for the next owner. The owner's manual, the manual for the JVC stereo, faceplate box for the stereo, some locking lug nuts. I think they're GM locking lug nuts that would have been on the car from the dealership. We've got some installation instructions here for the radio and some information on that Alpine JVC radio. And you'll also get an original Pontiac issued service manual for the car, along with a bunch of receipts that we have. This car has obviously been extremely well loved. Just really, really nice all the way around. One of the nicest 88 Fieros and the best color combination you could imagine. There we go. Now see, it opened with the engine off. Isn't that funny? It doesn't operate when the engine's running, but it pops right open when the engine's not running. So there's that, but it's there and it works. It's very cool. 1988s did not come with that option from the factory, I don't believe. Try it one more time. Yep. Just doesn't like to work when the engine's running. Maybe there's a reason for that. That might be a safety. Why would it be a safety? I don't know. I'm not going to try to figure out. It's late. It's been a long day. So here we have this really, really pretty Pontiac Fiero from the final year, 1988, from the Orphan brand Pontiac. Again, one of my favorite vehicles ever produced by GM. These cars for a long time and still are underrated, especially the 1988 model, which everybody does know is the best of the best. Orphan Car Garage pricing on this 1988 Fiero Formula, $11,900. Just $11,900. Our repair receipts alone add up to far more than that. You can't paint this car again for $11,900 in this type of quality. Unbelievable. Just a beautiful car, very turnkey, instant classic car show material. Drive it on a nice day to work. Just park it far in the back of the parking lot so it doesn't get nicked, because this car is really, really, really nice. $11,900. Give me a call, 508-954-8090. Check this car out on my website, orphancargarage.com. We got a full gallery of pictures there and a description, including the undercarriage, which is very, very clean. Like Like us on Facebook, and of course subscribe here on YouTube. I appreciate all the support. We always have cool stuff like this to show you guys. I think it's all priced pretty well too, judging by the fact of how quick most of this stuff sells. I think I'm doing the right thing. You can be the judge. Give me a call, 11-9-1988 Pontiac Fiero Formula. Until the next one, thank you again for all your support.